Welcome to Oh Brother, a podcast of three brothers trying to figure it all out, with your hosts, Brandon, Collin, and Aaron. On this week's show, the volleyballist. Aaron.
Hello.
How goes it?
Oh, good. Enjoying a Saturday. What are you guys up to?
Sorry about your game.
That team's one of the top 10 in the state, so it wasn't too heartbreaking, but I got a little choked up when some of my seniors came up and gave them a hug, and it finally dawned on me, and I'm like, oh, that was some of theirs last game, that they'll never play football again. So that was a little that got me.
Yeah.
But well, yeah. So good game. We just had trouble executing. They were also they were a lot more physical than us, so that also did help. But I was like, oh well, yeah, kind of came out and did this, and then it was like, ooh, yeah, forgot it was some of their last game. So that was touching. But I'm not gonna actually get to have a Sunday for once. Don't have to go do game film or anything. Now I get to help out and focus on basketball, and then baseball season's right after that. So got a lot going on here in a little bit.
Not like I didn't know you were helping with basketball.
I am technically not I'm not coaching anything, but I have to do some of the concession stand stuff.
Oh, right.
And so I get to go and work with that, which thankfully I don't have to do every game. It's a once or twice a month kind of thing. I'll go down, but if it's an early home game, I'll swing by and on my way home and see the kiddos and do stuff like that. So
nice.
Yeah. But then right after that, right when basketball season ends, baseball and slow pitch softball start. So
right in it.
When's the golf season start? When are you doing that one?
Soccer.
Thankfully, we don't have either of those sports.
Water polo.
Thankfully,
definitely water polo.
Yeah. So thankfully, we don't have any of those sports to contend with. But yeah, that's get a chance to actually have a time off to relax and recuperate. Because that was kind of the struggle there for a while. Because at my other school, Sundays were when I got to game plan and come up with what was going on and lesson plan and do all that stuff. But the past few Sundays, they were just kind of late notices and watching game films. I never got a chance to sit down and do proper lessons for a while. So it'll be nice to get back in the swing of it.
I'll tell you a sport that has captivated Lily is volleyball.
I'll say curling.
Really?
Dang it.
We got to see her school as volleyball and soccer are the two big sports there, and she got to go see some of the high schooler girls play volleyball in person. We got to watch an in-person game, and it's basically been all she can talk about for the last month. So.
Well,
there you go.
We were at the
looks like you need to go to academy and get a volleyball and get a net and just
net in the backyard, right?
Yeah. Problem solved.
Student.
Practice your dives, right?
Meghan was really good at it. Still is. But she played on two different teams at the same time. There was a traveling one and a local one, and she kind of traveled. So she just played constantly throughout the week for a couple of years.
Oh wow!
Look at this secret volleyball knowledge drop in here. Did not know Meghan was a volleyballist.
Yeah,
here we go.
There we go.
Of the best degree. So we went to we've gotten a few volleyball books from the library. We just picked up another one today. So we're reading all we can.
The fact that there are multiple volleyball books in the library is mildly astounding to me. Well, that there wouldn't be a volleyball.
Oh no! Oh no! No!
Just find her a YouTube channel about basics of volleyball. And have her watch a video, and then go out in the backyard and work on it for a little bit, and then just rinse, wash, repeat. Boom.
Yes, that's exactly what first graders do.
Yes,
volleyball drills.
I mean,
yeah.
Well, so we no, it's some books are like getting started with volleyball basic. This other one was definitely written around the time of the height of Carrie Walsh and Misty May, because it's all about like beach volleyball.
Yeah.
And what
girl, Misty May Trainer, what's up?
So it's kind of neat. To kind of go back. And some of these books, they're a few years old, but we still enjoy reading them. Aaron, you mentioned finding a YouTube channel. We've started. The kids have started to ask things because they'll ask like, "Oh, what's this?" And I'll say, "I don't know. Let's look it up." And so we'll do some Googling and look at photos or read things about it. And lately, I've been trying to show them more like videos of things in progress. And we found a channel about I forget the name of it. I'll have to find this for the notes, but of a farmer who shoots all of his like planting and harvesting with like a drone. And I'll tell you what, Noah and I sat there for probably about 20 minutes watching corn be harvested, and it was amazing.
Man, I tell you, I basically live on YouTube half the time when I'm bored, like on the weekend. I'm just like, I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to play video games and read, and I'm just going to watch random things on YouTube. And the amount of channels like that I accidentally end up watching for undisclosed amounts of time are quite large.
I found an entire playlist of episodes from How It's Made. And I was like,
I love that show so much.
Definitely.
I love
saving
shows illegally pirated to YouTube. It's I also like stumbling across gems online.
all of your local federal and state lines in
it's fine. Yes. 100% legitimate. Some of them are like from the History Channel. Like the History Channel puts a bunch of their old stuff on there. So they legitimately have like tons of curated playlists of their old shows like that. That aren't on TV anymore. They, especially during over the pandemic, a lot of channels like A&E and History Channel just dumped that stuff online.
Yeah,
like here you go, bam, and so it's still there and it's glorious.
Noah came to me and said, "Dad, how do they make road signs?" And I was like, "Ooh, really good question." Got on YouTube, found a video from the 90s all about road signs. I was like, yes, this is awesome. I'm so happy.
There's one show that I watched, and I thought I was on YouTube. I think it's on Amazon Prime now as well, if you're interested. It's called like, I don't remember. It's one of these like, it's an English show, and it's called like Tudor Monastery Farm, where it's like these living history people running a farm like they're living in Tudor England.
Oh, and
it's literally the best thing ever. And I think there's like other series where they do it with like different time periods and stuff. Yo, it's great.
This sounds very familiar to a PBS show that I remember watching, where they had just like run of the mill average Joes living like they during the Western expansion, and so they were like, here's some basic skills about how you do these things, and now go build your log cabin, and like had them try and survive a winter in Montana. Basically,
I feel like this show sounds familiar.
Yes.
And I don't. Yeah.
Exactly. I know. No,
The premise of this show sounds vaguely familiar. I imagine I saw something like this. I thought it was like a competition show, because all those weird shows like that are like competition shows, right? Where it's like, who survives?
It was called Frontier House.
Frontier House.
Boom.
There we go.
It was 2000s, early 2000s. I just Googled PBS show Living on the, and it completed to Frontier. I love this show. I have very fond memories of watching this. And
how insane.
Good stuff.
Here we go. Just to give you an example, I just like pulled up my YouTube on my phone and I was rolling through the recommended for me things, and the third video here, fourth video, sorry, is Highlander survival equipment 17th century tried and tested full rundown clothing. So blam, outdoorsy YouTube channels, very exciting. Yeah, it goes in order in case you're interested. This one's about Dark Souls. This one's a skateboarding one. This one's about apartments in Japan for some reason. And then the Highlander video. Yep, that's basically my days. And I hang out online.
Yeah. No, we found another one of he wanted to know about how bobcats work. And so we stumbled across the Blippi YouTube show.
Not like actual cats, the machenery. Okay,
I was like,
what?
For a very long time because he said how are bobcats made, and I was like, ooh,
well,
I guess we're having a good talk.
When a mommy bobcat and a daddy bobcat love each other very much,
and he was like, no, like construction, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, well,
no, Dad, the tractor. Why are you being weird? Like, yeah, I got you.
We will do this. So, yeah, no, it's crazy. Like I've been doing some dives on like all the farmers who are cataloging their journey. So one that we watched a lot is actually it's called Millennial Farmer.
It's called Clarkson's Farm. Available on Amazon.
Watch it on repeat, and it's pretty. But no, it's good. There was even one where they were like, this is how, I mean, we got pretty deep on this. They were comparing different combine harvesters and their like harvesting ability or like rate on like this, like shot after shot. They were just like showing them like going down the rows. And they're like, look at this model harvesting and then this model. And then we did the same thing with plows. Apparently, guess, not surprisingly, in Iowa, like once a year, they all come together and just like plow fields with old farm equipment. And they're like, wee.
This is exactly the type of thing I would expect to happen in Iowa. That probably happens in Missouri too, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah. This was just the Iowa event.
Yeah. I imagine there's a Missouri chapter of this.
Oh, absolutely.
We're going to plow like our especially down here in the Ozarks, like we're going to plow like our forefathers. We have some donkeys and this plow.
Except this is like, here's this tractor from the 80s, and here's another tractor from the 70s, and here's a tractor from the 90s. And like, they're all like weird, like one-offs, or like, this is one that they tried using this technique, and it was awful, and they all broke. But we still use ours.
We have the one that works. Like, all other tractors have been ship of Theseus into this one tractor.
Exactly. There are none other in existence, but they are all currently existing in their subsequent
simultaneously
that are keeping this one alive. Yes, exactly. Like that's pretty much, I'm sure, how most of those things are.
Yes, I think so.
But I was just like, it's one of those things of like, they're starting to say that this phrase really makes me happy. They're like, I want to learn about, and then they'll say something, and then like we'll try and do a reading, a visual, and then maybe a video if we can find a good one to go with it. But it's just kind of trying to like, okay, sure, let's go try and learn about that. Let's see what resources are out there, because I just like trying to expose them to different ways of gathering information. I texted you guys earlier. I got to substitute at Lillian's school this week, which was wonderful.
Yeah, I want to hear more about this insane substituting thing here. It's a good segue.
But I'm going to cut to real quick. 9th grade, the kids had it was like an open book quiz, and it was like, give the definition of an endocrine gland. And all the students are furiously flipping through their chapter and they can't find it. And they're like getting frustrated.
Glossary.
And I said, it's something that I used to say to my students when I tutored and stuff. I was like, we need to use all of our book, all of it. And they were like, what? Like, but we're in chapter 9 or whatever. And I was like, yes. Have you ever looked at the very back of your book? And they
No.
never, no. And then one guy was like, in 9th grade, okay, great. And again, this is fine because at least I caught these students at 9th grade and not whenever they were juniors at the college level. And I was showing them the glossary. But he was like,
for the first time ever,
he was like, whoa, like all the words are here.
Yes. All the words are here.
And I was like, this is called the glossary. And I said, if the word is not in here, go to the index. And it has the major, really important words there. And you can
listen. Baby steps. We can't be just jumping straight to the index, man. That's too rough.
Too much.
I was just showing them the glossary. And so all of a sudden, like, that's just like, there's like the next 3 questions are about definitions. Guess where you'll probably find that information. And they're like, oh. So I had thought about being a substitute teacher with the school. And so I just filled out some initial paperwork at the beginning of the semester. And it's a small operation. And many teachers are actually just like parents with background or like some education in the process. And so it's all like bootstrapped together, but they've made it work for the last 30 years. They've been around, so working. And they had said, hey, they called me up last week and said, hey, notice that you filled this out. We never completed the process. Give us this information and we'll get you on the list. And then like 2 days later, I got a phone call. I was like, sweet. And this lady teaches 6th grade math, 7th grade math, 6th grade chemistry, 9th grade biology / it's anatomy, and 11th they bring the juniors and seniors together for their yearbook club, and then and then 9th grade like themes and literature. Just like
that's disgusting. That is absolutely atrocious. I cannot. Can you imagine Aaron prepping 6 completely different classes? Like every day? No.
So, yeah. So thankfully, very lined out, and she had kind of I didn't have to do I had to teach two. I had to actually teach 2 subjects. The rest were like, this is a quiz, or this is we're working on a writing assignment. So one of them was like an in-class writing assignment, was like, describe why this book is like the #1 bestseller in this genre. And all the kids were like, ugh, I hated the book. It's awful. They probably just lied to everybody for why they liked it. I was like,
did you go, I can completely understand all these feelings. Yeah. I know.
Yeah, I was like, but let's look at the book itself and try and figure out like why someone might pick it up. Like, just really like,
I have some podcast episodes you can listen to kind of help you out on your writing journey, on your literary critiquing journey.
That was the other thing too. So anyway, I had to teach 6th grade math 7th grade math was oh gosh, what was that? It flew by. Doing like, it was parts of wholes. So it was like 80% of the 20 students failed. How many students failed? Yeah. Right? So we were like looking at fractions and then like converting it to a number. And like the way they taught it or had it lined out was like, we're going to draw a box and we're going to subdivide the box into the number of things that we need. And then we're going to
good old area model. Everyone loves an area model.
So anyway, so like we're teaching them that, and that one was a lot of fun because they were like really engaged. And the hardest part for them was to try and figure out what number to put in the subdivided box. Like that took a lot of effort to try and convince them like the whole box is equal to the total number of students. We need to figure out anyway, so we're looking through that. 6th grade math, I was teaching, I don't even really know, but we were like doing like mental math for like 3,000 divided by 10. We're moving decimal points, basically looking at
place values,
right? Mm-hmm. And then like the one, like we did like all this work and for all these examples that were like just based on 10. And I'm like looking at this, and I'm like, there are so many examples here. Oh my gosh. And then it was like, now we're going to do divided by 100. And then it was like, then we're going to multiply by 1,000. And we're just doing places, right? Doing decimal places, counting, moving to the left or the right, like looking, divide. Do I do left or right? Multiply. Do I do left or right? And then how many do I move over? It expanded into a larger concept then, but then we ran out of time and I was just making notes and stuff. They were less than enthused, but it was 6th graders at the last hour trying to work on math. And I was like, I'm really sorry about this. This must not be a lot of fun for you. Totally understand, but we're going to make the most of it. And it was quite a lot. I'm still on the substitute list, and
well, that's good. the day was at least mildly successful. He didn't be like, take me off the list now.
They did ask, they were like, are there particular subjects like you really want to teach or like want to help with? So I was like, yeah, basically anything biology.
Biodiversity and morphological differences in aquatic species. And you got any of that for me?
I'm comfortable with math. I said, I really enjoyed like algebra 2 and even geometry. I haven't done anything with that for a very long time. So I would just need to, review and catch up and have some time spent with that. But they were like, "Are you really like you'd like to do that?" And I was like, "Yeah, like I've tutored those topics. Like it's not that big of a deal. Like
I'm a scientist, bro. Like, come on."
Yeah. So that was kind of.
Here's my thesis.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna do that to them, but I was just
let's drop it on them. Yeah. Like, what are your qualifications? Bam.
So I was like, it's fine. It's fine. One of the seniors, it was really funny, in the yearbook. So they get together to do the yearbook, and it's a very small school. That's why juniors and seniors are together. It's a private school, and they were like, they were working on a class project. This group of students had finished the pages that they were assigned, and they were waiting their next assignment. This was just a placeholder for them, but they were working on another class assignment, and the student was like talking to his friends about what his project was for his math class. And I was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And he was like, "Linear models." And I was like, "Oh, tell me more. I like modeling." And he was like really thrown off as it was asking him. I was like, "Oh yeah." And then you're going to get your R² value, and then you're going to be able to use that to project out how things might change in a linear fashion.
He was like, "Whoa, what?"
I did kind of spring on him. I was like, "Ooh, yeah." And I was like, and are you using a stats program, or are you just using like Excel? And he was like, "Stats program? I'm just using like," he was like graphing it out and then like modeling.
I got a graph.
It was like
some graph paper.
Pretty much what he was doing. I was like, "Sweet, that works too. Yeah, we got to start there." Yeah.
It's true. Yeah, can't be dropping R's on people when they're like graphing. Come on now.
Yeah. But anyway, that was fun. So I was just like, like I feel like it's a potential opportunity for me to be more involved and help out with them. And so we'll see. We are actually working on. So we just wrapped up the hiring process for dog walkers and pet sitters in Springfield. We are have 2 people on board, and Meghan gets to meet them next week. Really excited.
Nice.
They're already writing and blogging and working on that stuff as we are putting ourselves more out there for availability for the services. But I was like, okay, well, all of the hard stuff is done now because like I have my Missouri tax ID and I have payroll in place and I have workers' comp figured out and I have all this like major headache. I don't have to do that for each employee that I add. I just
That's true.
throw information at them and those systems gobble it up and do stuff with it. So it's like now hiring is actually fun because we can.
The paperwork's done.
Yeah, the paperwork's done. Exactly. So we we just posted an ad for here in town for help. So my hope is that all of the walk and drop-ins that I have been doing and that have actually been increasing at an alarming rate over the past month and a half, I'll be able to hand off to a staff member, have them do, and then I was like, that'll free me up to go do, help out at school and do these other things. So
yeah,
we're slowly doing something.
The empire is growing.
But yeah, that's been our week. Been our week.
Dang, busy times.
What about for you? Did it snow down by you all?
No, it's just very cold.
Okay.
Extraordinarily cold. My lovely dry skin is like, yes, just what I wanted. Crack, break. Yay. This is perfect. Wait, no. Yeah, I wasn't really do anything this week. Just sort of like one of those, just doing stuff. Like it wasn't really, I don't know, just like work, and more work. Boom. Sure. Doing earthquake stuff. So
the buildings you have.
That's next week. We got it. So I'm trying to figure out, like, yeah. So we're doing that next week. This week we kind of finished up our like baseline stuff, and we did like our new Madrid Fault day where all the kids go. Yeah, what?
Oh, that's wonderful.
It's my favorite. I love that day when they're like, well, the earthquakes in Missouri. And I'm like, yeah. They're like, wait.
Sitting down. Yeah.
They're like, a lot? Like, yeah, potentially. Yeah. Like big? Potentially. So we watched that. We've discovered as a class the USGS Earthquake monitoring website, where it just like live updates all earthquakes that happen in the world.
Yes.
And they can see that in any given day there is like 40 plus earthquakes just on the planet. So like the seismic activity is ridiculous. Now most of these earthquakes are like 2.5 and so are basically not felt at all. Right? Because like just around 2 and definitely under that, you don't even feel it really. And like 2.5 to 3, it might like shake the dishes in your cabinet, but that'll be about it. So they can see like, and the map is really cool because it has all the plate boundaries, and so they can see like, oh, all these are like right on the plate boundaries. Why is there an Oklahoma, or why is there an earthquake in New Mexico? Well, I don't know. Like, it's like it's mostly on the boundaries, but interplate seismicity is one of the great mysteries of seismology. Yeah. And
hello, Idaho, right?
Yeah, right. And again, New Madrid Fault. Many theories abound as to why there is a extremely large, deep fault in the middle of a tectonic plate, but no actual answers. So that's fun when this unit is very interesting in that it's a really good opportunity to point out all the things that scientists don't know.
Yeah.
and why continuing the science process is very important, because we don't know about, there's lots that we don't know about earthquakes, right? It's a field open for study, and there are lots of things to learn. And it's just very interesting to, because I think a lot of people kind of take for granted, like, oh, well, science knows all this stuff. But like big events like an earthquake, it's very interesting to watch student reactions when you go, well, scientists don't really know why that happens. They're like, wait, what? What do you mean? So that's really kind of a fun thing to kind of get to talk about all the reasons, all the things that we don't know, and all the things that we're studying, and why it's important to study. And that really hit them on the new Madrid video, because we were talking about like the unpredictability of an earthquake, right? And about how one of the main goals of seismology is to try to better predict earthquake activity.
Sure.
You know, and when they saw the thing that was like, well, in the next 50 years, there is a 25 to 40% chance that the new Madrid Fault could produce a 6+ magnitude earthquake. And I was like, how do you guys feel about that prediction? And they're like, that doesn't tell us anything. I'm like, exactly. Yeah. That's what
not good. Not good.
It's like, are you ready to plan your life around that prediction? They're like, no, that's terrible. I was like, yeah. And a couple of the kids actually figured out, like, well, that means there's at least a 60% chance that nothing will happen at all. Like, yep. How are those odds? They're like, this is not good.
This is not helpful. This is not.
They kind of realize, yeah, these are very unhelpful numbers.
Yeah.
So we talked about like how one of the goals is to get those numbers to be more useful, right? Like, oh, we need to be able to predict like much, much closer than in 50 years, maybe there's a 40% chance that something could happen. Like, that's not very good. So, those are fun conversations on Friday when we watch the video.
Yeah.
It's like some old like PBS video or something, but like, it's very interesting. It's pretty in depth. We have to pause a lot, talk a lot, because they get the one that I have, like, they go like real sciencey, real hard in a couple parts. But like, all right, time to translate, guys. Listen.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of inserts of like people's like eyewitness accounts, but it's like 1811 writing. So, you know, they're like, well, I just stopped dead in my tracks on this night and blah, blah. Like, you know, they get all like very, very flowery with their language. Like, all right, guys, I know you probably didn't understand that sentence at all, but here's what they're talking about.
That's hard though, right? Because especially with geology, like they do actually have quite a long historical record of people writing about something in some way, and trying to parse through. Man, okay, when this person was actually writing about this event, that was actually this earthquake over here that did this, and trying to piece together a lot of those stories, I can imagine is I think it would be fun and fascinating, but it's hard to work through.
What is really hard, and it's pretty interesting. And the one good example of that shows up in the video, because there is one eyewitness account of this lady talking about how the air was filled with something like smoke. Right? That's what she describes as happening.
Yeah.
And what it actually was sand blows. Right?
Yeah.
So the ground in that area, like underground, there's layers of sand.
Yeah.
And in the shaking, it experiences like liquefaction, right? So all this, it becomes very liquidy. And the overburden, which is all the ground above the sand, pushes down on it real hard. Well, that ground cracks, and it basically squeezes all of the sand out of like this crack in the ground. So it's like when you squeeze a Capri Sun and all the stuff shoots out. That's basically what it's doing with the sand. It's smushing down on the sand because it's all hydraulically charged. And then it rockets the sand out in these massive jets, like these sand. It basically makes sand volcanoes, and there is like all this geologic history in that area that of sand blows. You can see them in the rock layers, and there are still evidence of places where, like, there's just like areas in that southeast Missouri where there's just like, oh, this is a big sandy area. Yep. Like, I think that in New Madrid, there's a golf course, and on the golf course, one of the sand traps is legitimately just an old sand blow.
Oh my
like
gosh.
It's actually just sand. So when this lady was talking about the air was filled with her exact words are with something like smoke. It's this sand that's been blown up 60 feet in the air and is then coming back down.
Nice. Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. Those kind of eyewitness events and trying to parse through them. And because you're dealing with people who are just experiencing it. They're not scientists. They're not in depth studying this. And you're going, what could that possibly be? So yeah, that's fascinating. Man, that's really neat.
Although, now that you mention it, there is one eyewitness who was in Kentucky at the time. One John James Audubon has written accounts of these events because he was in Western Kentucky and felt the seismic activity from the earthquakes of 1811 and 12 in the New Madrid Fault system. Cool. So he wrote about it. His writing is, of course, very like insane. Like, I found myself in great distress. Like, like
perfect. Exactly what you needed.
But the other part that's crazy about the intercrustal seismology is the fact that the crust is very, very, very intact, right? Deep underground in the central U.S. So the earthquake, specifically the 1811 and 12 event in New Madrid, those seismic waves travel tremendous distances because the rock is so solid.
Yeah.
It's all like fully cooled, solid intercrustal rock. Whereas like in California, the crust it's on a boundary, so it's very broken. It's actually very thin, and the bottom is like, it's warmer, so it's more has more plasticity, so the shock waves don't travel near as far as they do in the center. So like there are accounts of church bells ringing in Charleston, South Carolina from the seismic events in Missouri. Which is kind of nuts, right? It's estimated that they felt this up to 1,200 miles away in southern parts of Canada.
Ew.
So like, so the kids were like, well, would we experience it here if it happened? And I was like, what do you think now? They're like, yes. Absolutely.
I feel like we were standing right on top of it, basically. Like, yes.
Yeah. I was like, I mean, it would depend on how big it was, but yes.
But
like if it's like a little tiny one, like no, because they have little ones a lot over there, like 2 to 3, but like a big one, like 6+. Oh, you bet we're feeling that sucker. Like they were not enthused by this news. They were looking at me quite crossly, like, why are you telling us all these terrible things that happen?
Well, now it's one of those things of like, now not a whole lot you can do about it, but
it's good to be prepared, right? It's important.
You won't be caught completely surprised.
Yeah. Don't go to Memphis, right? Just be fine.
Or as you're running for cover, the reason we feel it so much is because the intercrustal seismology has better.
It's so great. It's lovely.
Yeah. Keep you preoccupied.
It's fine.
All good.
Stop, drop, and hold on. That's what you got to do. We watched the California earthquake safety video as well.
Missouri's not producing those.
No. Maybe we should. Boom.
Okay, we'll add that to our Brother Consulting.
It's true.
State of Missouri will be submitting
that new Madrid Fault video, right? Got to get that on there.
public service announcement, New Madrid video.
Yeah, right. Very exciting. Kind of want to go to New Madrid now. Just hang out, check it out.
It's on our list of in-person interview locations.
Oh, that's right. It's true. It's close to St. Genevieve. We want to go there too. So, boom, we'll catch that eastern
one fell swoop.
Eastern Missouri. Here we go.
Coming for you. Anyway, so we have some chapters to talk about, actually.
Oh boy, do we ever.
Aaron, did you get a chance to read these?
Nope.
Yep. Okay.
Sorry. Now that football's over, I actually have time to do things. So,
right. So for the next book, we'll get.
My previous concerns and during the last episode, a clothing test, I was concerned about how things were going to get wrapped up. And
yeah, I believe I uttered the word "things are not going to go well for Dally."
Oh,
yep.
Yeah.
Turns out I was the right one.
And just going into this, I know we're going to do a recap here, but just my thoughts over chapters 10, 11, and 12 is I really didn't like them.
I like parts of them.
I thought that after all of the buildup that we had just gone through, and especially with Two-Bit, not Two-Bit, Johnny, with Johnny just dying, I felt like chapters 10, 11, 12 were like just straight downhill. It wasn't even at a 45-degree angle. It was just like, and it's done with story. Like I didn't feel like it was a good resolution to this book. It's just going in soon.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way, right? But I'm conflicted,
okay,
right? Because as a story, yeah, this book definitely, if I'm putting this on my plot diagram, I am arguing that the climax of this story is the church thing, right? That's it.
Yeah.
And then we have like 8 chapters of like the falling action, which is really kind of weird. But if you think about this story in like a real life context, it actually makes a lot more sense because like a lot of times there isn't like just a resolution to like literally everything, and stuff just sort of like goes on. You know what I mean? So I can't tell if it's annoying that it has no actual resolution to anything, or if it is portraying realism by just kind of existing, right? I can't tell which way I think more.
Yeah, I'm not going. This is where I was like, I don't think I can give the author really the benefit of the doubt here and be like, oh man, it was so real, and she knew about like how things just happen, that this is what real life is like. And I feel like it was just a bad ending because there was an ending.
Kind of.
That was
right.
Utterly.
Yeah.
It was just like there was a finality to it that wrapped up in a weird way to me. But there was like nothing like Cherry. Who cares about her?
Yeah.
Everybody else that was.
I almost felt like chapter 12 was basically like epilogue, right? It wasn't even really like a.
No, you're right.
It's not like a really end chapter. It's kind of just like epilogue. It's
Yes.
like nothing.
Yes, chapter.
It's
12.
not. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I feel. So I feel like I don't really know. Like, because when chapter, yeah, we'll get into it more here in a minute, but like chapter 11 didn't really
do anything.
Like I felt like that was kind of it, right? Like the dude comes over and they talk, and then it's just kind of like done. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and then chapter 12 is just kind of like the epilogue. It has to be their chapter, but I don't feel that there was resolution.
No. So let's dive into chapter 10. Dally has run out, leaving Ponyboy like basically to walk home bleeding profusely.
Yeah, that's weird. He gets a ride from like some random dude who's like, "Gee, kid, you're bleeding," and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Like, it's like, "You're bleeding over my seats." It's like, "I am? What?"
Yeah.
Oh. So yeah, Johnny's dead. Yeah. Pony gets a ride home from some random dude. And Pony is like messed up, right? We find out later. We do get at least an answer about that. Like, what the heck is going on with Pony here? But yes, he makes it home, and he's got to be the one to break it to everybody that Johnny's dead.
Yeah. And I will say he comments. It's interesting because he comments. He says, "Where's the party?" I thought dully. Weren't Soda and Steve planning a party after the Rumble? And I realize the reason there's no party is because they don't know where he is.
Yeah.
Of course there's no party. They're worried sick about you because you just were abducted by Dally to run to the hospital. And they didn't know that. And
yeah.
And he has to tell them he's gone, and they don't know where Dallas is. And then Pony starts to have kind of it starts to all, you can feel all the reality of what's happening starts to finally hit him. His nerves are finally catching up with him.
He goes. Yeah, he just sort of like blah. Is this where we find out about I can't remember. Yeah, he comes home and he falls down and he's like throbbing everywhere, and then they get a phone call from Dally,
I did not understand.
Yeah, this was weird.
I did not understand the point of Dally calling, especially with what we're about to come up across after this. He's just robbed a grocery store and the cops are after him, and we've got to hide him, and he'll be in the lot in a minute. And then they all start running, and they're just running. Okay, so I don't know where the lot is, but they know. And
it's that same abandoned lot that they hang out in the holes. It's not very far away from Pony's house. In my mental geographic map of this area, it's not super far away from Pony's house where they are.
And I don't know, because what happens here is Dally comes around the corner with the police in full tow.
Yeah. And even Steve, who's got broken ribs, I think. Yes. We learned that at some point. Even Steve, the person I forget exists, is there.
And Dally turns, raises his gun.
Yeah, but you do get this kind of thing where Pony kind of realizes what's happening before it all kind of goes, right? He's like, oh, he remembers that conversation where Dally's like, I've been carrying a heater, but it ain't loaded, right? He's like, oh no. He knows what's happening. He's like, oh God.
But I don't know. What I'm trying to piece together here is Dally's thought. Dally knows his friends are coming to get him. Did he make the phone call so that his friends would see him get shot? Or did he really think he had a chance of getting away and he wanted the help, and then realized there's no way I'm getting out of this. There's no reason left to live. I'm done.
Yeah, I couldn't really figure out either, because especially later, where does it say? When he says, when Pony's thinking about it, and he's like, of course Dally wanted to. Oh yeah. but Dally Winston, I knew that he would be dead because Dally Winston wanted to be dead, and he always got what he wanted. So by that logic, he knew, yeah. So I don't really understand why he called either, because he wanted to go out in the blaze of glory, right? This is what his whole plan was. That's why he went and robbed the store.
Yeah.
That's why he pulled the gun out, because he wanted to die. But why would he call everybody to come watch this?
The only reason I think was to because of
Pony needed to be there for the story, right?
Pony needed to be there for the story, yes, so that we could write about this and know what happened. So there is that aspect. But I also wonder if it was part of Dally keeping his reputation alive.
That's true too.
Because it was kind of like this not over romanticized version, but as you said, it was kind of like he went out not heroically but gallantly, right? He died gallant.
Yeah, that's what he says.
He says it's like I kind of feel like he made that phone call so his people would see that and know that about him and give them closure, or what, in some weird, sick, twisted way. I don't know. But it was interesting how Ponyboy grappled with what he was seeing, because he was understanding the complexity of who Dally was, of but he pulled Johnny through the window. He really helped us. He really cared. And now all he is a dead juvenile delinquent.
Yeah.
And there's nothing good is going to be written about him. And it's again, one of these little cogs of like Ponyboy gets it. He's understanding what's going on right now.
And then he passes out.
And I love when he comes up and he's like, Soda, is someone sick? And Soda's like, yeah, go back to sleep.
Yeah, it's like, wait, am I sick? He's like, yeah, now be quiet.
Oh, yeah. And he kind of apparently goes in and out for a long time and is really not well.
Yes. And again, not to jump the gun, but we do know. We at least find out why later.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's right here. Right. Yeah, we figured out he is suffering from exhaustion, shock, and a concussion for when he got kicked in the face at the Rumble. Right here, yeah, it's right here. I'm flipping through my book here, so I didn't want to spoil it too much later. But so we find out at least why he's been being all weird, right? The exhaustion, obviously, the shock of all this stuff, and then he was in fact kicked directly in the face in the Rumble, so he's been concussed. So that's why he's been kind of foggy and scrambled, right? He's like, where'd I get my concussion? How long have I been asleep? It's like, you got your concussion from getting kicked in the head. And he says, it's Tuesday, you've been asleep since Saturday night. Like, whoa, what?
That's a lot. And he immediately goes to, I'm not going to be able to make up any of the school.
Yeah, and then this whole thing's the thing this is where it starts getting real weird, right? And like, I'm not gonna be able to miss school. I've got to go do this, and then then he starts talking about all this stuff, and like he just goes very strange. Again, he goes all pony and he gets all weird
about the whole like. He feels like he's upset Derry because he said, did I ask for soda while he was out?
Yeah. I couldn't remember if that was here or in the chapter 11 when they're at home. But like, yeah, he does kind of like, he feels uncomfortable that he didn't ask for Derry because I guess he asked for like his mom and dad even. Oh yeah, you kept asking for me and soda. Sometimes mom and dad too, but mostly soda. And then he like felt guilty that he didn't also ask for Derry because he remembered that Derry also loves him, and he's like, oh wait, but I might not. Do I really still not think that because I didn't ask for him? He's like, dude, calm down.
And then Soda jumps in here, and he is looking. Everyone's looking a little rough. That here where he's like on the bed and he's trying to talk with Ponyboy, and Derry's like, please leave him alone and stuff.
Oh yeah. He's like, easy, man. Leave him alone. Yeah. Take it easy with him, okay? And he's like, fine.
Yeah. Oh, and then the whole baloney thing. We get that. That comes back. That was the
oh yeah. Look at that.
He's like, hey, don't you like bologna? He's like, no, I don't like. I've never liked it. So I was like, oh, that's weird. You used to eat a lot. I wonder why. What could have happened?
Yeah. Like, what the heck, man? Come on.
God. And yeah, and then they go to sleep, and then we get into chapter 11.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Before we do that, Soda reassures Pony that he did ask for Derry, and then he's like, "Okay, good," because I was worried I didn't, but I did, so that's good. And so I was like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. You did too." So again, the weird things he worries about.
Yeah. And then chapter 11, the one that made no sense whatsoever.
I had a hard time.
Not even a little bit. It really kind of bothers me, this chapter. It annoys me a lot. I don't know why it does this.
Yeah, he starts going off about, because he's in Soda's yearbook and he finds a picture of a young Bob, right?
Yeah.
The guy who got killed. And he starts again going like, who was that kid? What was going on? Did he have a kid brother who idolized him? What made him run wild? But he starts going real deep into that kid and trying to understand what had happened and what steps led up to that moment in the park.
Yeah. And then Randy shows up at his house. Like, what the heck? Why are you here?
Oh, that was so weird. Right. And he sits down and he starts smoking in the bed.
I mean, Pony smokes all the time anyway.
Apparently.
That's like his one character trait that hasn't changed. He just smokes like a chimney. So,
yeah. And Randy's like, this went off the wheels for me because, again, I understand why this was written. So Randy starts telling him about, like, I'm going to be testifying, and I'm going to be telling the truth, and I just want to say the right things. And he starts to deny, or he starts to claim that he killed it and not Johnny.
Yeah, that's the part I was like, what in the heck are you? Oh my God, Pony, why?
And
it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, right? Like none.
I don't know where this comes out of. And the only thing I can think of is that a couple points up before this, Ponyboy is saying things like, no, he's not dead. Johnny's not dead. Don't think about it.
He's like in this weird denial state. Like, and maybe that was his concussion talking, right? Like, that's the only other thing I could possibly think of.
I kind of think it was a way because he wanted to protect the memory of Johnny, that how Johnny died. He knew what was in Johnny's heart, and
Hero Johnny,
and he didn't want to have to hear that about coming out of somebody else's mouth about this, right? It's kind of one of the things of like when there's a truth, and when somebody else says it, you don't like hearing it. And so you do anything to kind of try and cover it, but it kind of like, I don't know, that's the only thing I could come up to figure out, like, wow, that some flip switched here, and what's going on?
Yeah, because even at the end, right, he's like, no, kid, it was your friend, the one who died in the hospital. And then again, he reiterates, Johnny is not dead. Yeah. Right? So, like, are you talking about the, like, physical Johnny? Because he did. But, like, if you're going to talk about like the memory of Johnny, I suppose, this one that you are trying to idolize and hang on to, like the quote, real Johnny, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and he says, and the reason that cued me off into this was, he swallowed hard and blinked. He, meaning Randy, was just like the rest of the Socs, cold-blooded, mean. Johnny didn't have anything to do with Bob's getting killed. And I think he's trying to contrast here, again, putting these class of like, Johnny was nothing like somebody who would kill somebody. But
yeah,
the Socs, like they are actually all like that. And saying these lies about Johnny, Johnny wouldn't hurt anybody. And again, he's trying to defend a memory of Johnny that he had.
Yeah. It's just very... Yeah, he goes all defensive when Randy talks about getting mixed up in this, right? And his response is like, he thought he was mixed up in this, right? Like, and he kind of goes off and goes all crazy and everything. And then... Yeah, and that chapter's like real short, and that's just it. Boom, done.
Yeah,
it's all just.
He tells him to quit smoking.
Yeah, quit smoking in the bed. Boom. Also, don't smoke in bed. Safety hazard, man.
And then chapter 12, the magical chapter of like, man, we've got a lot to cover. And this is what really was like, I was so let down by chapter 12. Mostly because it starts off with him at the trial. Right. And everyone's just like talking, and they tell him to him straight, and that like there's nothing here of like everyone spoke, and then the judge was like, "Do you like your house? Do you like your brothers? Okay, cool. You can go back and sit down." It was like,
yeah, he did make a point of like saying, I didn't even get to say anything, but the doctor also talked to the judge like beforehand. And so I think you were left to infer like, yeah, this kid is messed up and he's been totally concussed and is out of his gourd.
Yeah, probably he's not the one to talk to about this. Plus, yeah, I can understand that, and being like, because hey, he's trying to recover from this. Talking about it actually makes it worse. So please don't.
Now, I need to ask an important question. Did I miss something, or did we get another character trait of Ponyboy dropped on us in chapter number 12? He says, I guess I looked as scared as I really was because the judge grinned at me and told me to quit chewing my fingernails. That's a habit I have. Pony.
Oh,
I understand that, like, this whole book, the whole thing, right, starting from like chapter 2, 3, there have been instances where nail chewing would have been a thing that you would have been doing.
Oh.
And to have it mentioned here only on the last chapter of the book. Now, I'm imagining that he only wrote it down here because the judge specifically pointed it out. Right. But
sure,
I do think it's really strange to like put that, like to put, oh yeah, I chew my nails when I'm nervous in the last chapter of a book. That's about characters.
No, I totally agree. Of like, oh, that's a habit you have.
That's
really
weird.
That would have been
it's like the track thing. Like, wait, you just telling me now you run track? What the heck, man?
Yeah, like, oh yeah, I do that.
But all this stuff makes a little bit more sense here in a minute, and then I'll tell you why. But
okay. Well, he does say, getting to your point, Brandon, of things. Is there not an ending because that's not how life is? He does say, I wish everything went back to normal, but it didn't, because apparently he was just continuing to run into things. He was not coordinated. He was absent-minded, leaving like his socks in places or shoes in the locker room.
Yeah, we have some like post-concussion syndrome happening here, right? Like,
yeah, and like
maybe not minor concussion. Like,
no, apparently it was like capital B bad. kind of concussion, and to shock and trauma, PTSD kind of stuff going on here. Where
that also PTSD because he said he teacher was scared of him. Later, and his grades went way downhill, and he started having trouble in English, which was his favorite class before that. So he's dealing with all this stuff. He's not it's affecting him. His internalizing of the events of this book have really messed him up, right?
Yeah, and I think that really gets showcased in the example where at lunchtime they go to buy get Coke and candy bars, and some socias show up.
Oh yeah,
this to me was wow, Ponyboy is altered, and I'm gonna say it's I don't know, it's everything it's what happened. I'll get to a point here. The socias show up and they're like, "Oh, you killed Bob. We don't like that." Meh. And Ponyboy just casually.
I do we don't like nobody killing our friends. What? What kind of sentence is that? Who says that?
Yeah, you're well, of course you don't. It'd be weird if you were you killed Bob. We love everybody who kills our friends. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Weird, but Ponyboy just without thinking, without any fear, breaks the bottle that he's holding with his Coke and just get back into the car and starts threatening them and walking towards them with a broken bottle. And they do, and they run away. And
yeah.
And Two-Bit's you really would have done that, wouldn't you have? And he's just I guess so. I don't understand why everyone else was so scared. We were just going to go do this. We were just going to go rumble, and I was going to fight them with this bottle. And then he starts cleaning up the glass. But I will say that this, to me, speaks of all along the way, Pony is trying to figure out why is Dahlia like this? Hey, why do you guys like to rumble? Why do you guys like to do these things? What's going on here? Why are you like this? Pony is now like this because of the trauma and of the experiences and the injuries that he has now sustained through the life of a greaser, and the cycle continues.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of pointed out by Two-Bit, right? And again, Steve says nothing because he's not even a character in this book. Come on, Steve, where you at?
I'm sorry, who's Steve?
We're in Steve's car, so that's the thing. But Two-Bit turns around and he's Two-Bit's kind of shocked by this whole thing. He's dude, what the heck, right? What are you doing? And he's Pony, listen, don't get tough. You're not like the rest of us, and don't try to be, right? Yeah.
But in that point, what Two-Bit doesn't understand is that Pony wasn't trying to be. He was just reacting.
Yeah.
Right. He wasn't trying to put on airs or trying to bluff. He was just okay, fine, let's do this. This is the life we lead.
Yeah. But then in the same breath, he turns around and Two-Bit's dude, what are you doing? And Pony is cleaning up all of the glass fragments that he left in the parking lot because he doesn't want somebody to get a flat tire.
Yeah.
So we're kind of proving that he's not all gone, right?
No.
He's still
exactly. Yeah. It's really because again, he's still Pony right now because he's still concerned about this.
Yeah.
But in that moment, there was not concern of this other stuff. It was just okay, he was ready to go and confused why everyone else wasn't. And you're ooh, okay, yeah, that speaks a lot to the kind of change and the impact that this lifestyle and exposure to these kind of events really does, because it just becomes part of character development here, becomes part of who you are whenever you're living that.
Yeah. We get a little bit more of that here in just a minute. So so they do that. They go home, right? It's kind of weird. Soda comes in and he's not doing great either, and I think that's kind of weird because he's not being all strange. And Pony's struggling with his schoolwork because he's all in this weird mode of all this stuff. And then Derry gets onto him again. And basically, you have this other moment. He's like, the schoolwork's not the point. You're living in a vacuum, Pony. You're going to have to cut it out. Johnny and Dallas were our buddies too. But you don't just stop living because you lose someone. I thought you knew that by now. You don't quit. Right? They start fighting and all this stuff. They go back to that whole thing, and then we realize why Soda was slumping on the couch again.
Sandy moved to Florida and never opened any of the letters.
Oh, yes. Sandy, the person I also forgot existed.
Yeah. Hard to, I was like, okay. Ooh.
But, I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, I have this story only from Ponyboy's point of view.
Yeah.
And he kind of sums it up right here, right? He's talking about, I never realized that I never paid much attention to Soda's problems. Derry and I just took it for granted that he didn't have any. Right? But this whole time, all this has been going on and all these things have been hanging over their heads. Soda's been dealing with this whole Sandy thing, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, he's been dealing with this privately, not saying anything. And this is like the last straw that like broke him, and they're not really paying attention to it either. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't been paying attention to the whole book. And again, that's because we are only Pony, right? But so it does make sense, right?
Yeah.
And I forgot about it because Pony forgot about it, you know?
Yeah. Oh, and so in the middle of the reason this is important here, because in the middle of Soda in the middle of Ponyboy and Derry fighting, Soda runs out because he's like, "Don't, oh guys, why can't you?" And then he runs out the door, and Ponyboy's like, "What happened?" And that's where Derry shares like, "Yeah, this is going on." He cried every night that you were gone. Every night that week you were gone because you and now Sandy, and he's been really struggling. And Ponyboy was like, "Oh yeah, I guess I never asked him how he was doing, and he always asked how I was doing. That's how I missed this."
Yeah.
And they run out to go get
Soda. They go find him,
and Soda tells him like, I cannot stand being put in the middle of you two fighting, and I see both of your sides, and I don't want to take a side. So please stop fighting.
Yeah.
Because they were kind of pitting Soda like against the other, or trying to use him, and just playing tug of war with Soda. And it's really eating up Soda because he didn't want to hurt either of his brothers.
Yeah. And he was trying to deal with his own stuff, right? He's dealing with his own thing. He's got work and he's got this stuff, and he was trying to deal with this Sandy situation, right? And they were both like ignoring that and just worried about their own stuff, you know?
Yeah. Yep. And he goes down and he says, don't fight anymore. And then we get this glimpse again of the world and of Ponyboy realizing, because he says, Derry looked real worried. I suddenly realized that Derry was only 20, that he wasn't so much older, that he couldn't feel scared or hurt and as lost as the rest of us. I thought that was really important, because you do have those people in your life, especially, I don't know, older brothers that, and even younger brothers, where you're like, man, like they're so much older, they're so much younger. There's no way they could possibly understand what was going on, or they've got it all figured out, or whatever. That it's like, oh, actually, no, like we're kind of still all in this together.
Yeah, he's not really that old, right? And we do kind of get like the sense from Ponyboy, the whole, like the way that Pony talks about Derry the whole book, he does seem older. So this moment right here when he's like, he's only 20 is kind of striking, because he is presented as a lot older, like in Pony's mind, I guess, because again, we have Pony's point of view only. It does feel like Derry is older a lot of the time. So this moment does stand out as rather striking to hear, like, oh, he's only 20. Yeah. He's not really that different from me. Like we're not that far apart in age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, and I think that's really, again, really important here to put in context for us, the readers, but also for Pony realizing, okay, he's, again, this humanizing aspect of understanding people are more complicated. And
And then they have I can't remember who said it here. I guess it's Soda. He says, we're all we've got left. We ought to be able to stick together against everything. If we don't have each other, we don't have anything. And if you don't have anything, you end up like Dallas.
Yeah.
And I don't mean dead. I mean like he was before. Yeah. That's worse than dead. Mm-hmm. So you kind of have this counterpoint of like, because I'm imagining they've run down the thing. They're probably not too far away from where he died, right? Having this conversation, because the lot, I don't think, is very far from the house. I don't think Soda made it very far before they caught him. So they're kind of, comparing this to Dally. So don't be like that, because especially when you're juxtaposing it to how Pony reacted at the gas station, right? That's how Dally would have reacted.
Yeah.
Like, well, I'm just going to stab you because who cares? So having that juxtaposition of Soda saying, like, you don't want to be like that because that's worse than death. Like, having nothing to live for is not good. So you do kind of have that opposite here.
Mm-hmm. And then they race home. And
of course,
why not? Because again, they're children.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Just kids.
No, it makes sense.
Why not? And he still doesn't want to do his homework, and so he decides, I need to start emotionally processing Johnny's death.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, he's got to start somewhere.
Yeah. No, why not now? And especially with coming to peace again and coming to terms and having more security with his brothers, it's a safe time for him. And
but he does say, I just thought that maybe if I played like Johnny wasn't dead, it wouldn't hurt so much.
Yeah, kind of like, and he gives I love this example of that. The way 2-Bit grieved was he was mad at Dallas because he had his switchblades on him, and so he didn't have the switchblades anymore.
Oh, it's true because whenever Dally died, he had it on his body, and the cops took it.
Yeah,
and that was 2-Bit's prized possession.
Yep, and
the black-handled switchblade.
But he was better able to grieve the loss of the switchblade than the loss of Dallas, and so he grieved the switchblade.
Yeah,
which I thought was, that was like, okay, like that is definitely a coping mechanism with loss and with grief.
Yeah, but then you have the ultimate coping with loss and grief, because Pony's trying to find something to read to try to distract him. So he picks up the only book in the house that he hasn't read 75 times, which of course is Gone with the Wind, Johnny's copy of Gone with the Wind, and wouldn't you know it, a paper falls on the floor.
Oh my gosh. Like this paper would have been helpful a chapter and a half ago.
That is definitely true. Man, where was guys? Again, there's no way to know, right? So, but yes, you do read this and go, oh gosh.
Yeah.
So I guess if there is any real closure in the book, if the book has any closure at all, it's this letter from Johnny.
Page 178.
Right. Page 178. That is it. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Because then he realizes, he's like, because Johnny's like, hey, tell Dally this stuff. And Pony's like, tell Dally? It's too late to tell.
Too late to tell Dally.
But he's like, you know what? I bet there are a bunch of other Dallies out there and a bunch of other Johnnies out there who need to be told this and need to be shared this story. Someone needs to tell them. Then he rings his English teacher.
Yeah. Yeah, you get the He wants, there's that part where the part that's like, I think crushes Pony's soul the most is like, I want you to have Dally look at a sunset. He'll probably think you're crazy, but ask him for me.
Yeah.
Oh no, the sunset is back.
Sunset wrapped around.
And he does explain to him the most famous line from all of the Outsiders, the "Stay Gold, Pony Boy."
Oh,
our poem from the church comes back, right?
Yeah,
he kind of tells him what he meant by that.
Yep.
So
you're a new kid every new dawn.
Yes,
get used to everything.
Yes, and then he brings his English teacher, which phone books in 2021. What's that?
You know. And
can we just talk for side note? Can we just talk about how glad I am that my students can't look my name up in a phone book and call me whenever they want?
Right?
Is this great?
Right? Oh, I know. Oh, yes. That'd be awful.
It'd be horrendous
to have that. Yeah, for sure. And I guess we kind of missed over this thing of his grades are so bad that his English teacher has told him, "Hey, if you could just write like a really good paper
or a paper at all, I'll give you a C." Yeah.
I will pass you. And so he's been struggling to come up with a topic and he doesn't know what to write about. And so he sits down after saying, it just doesn't have to be less than 5 pages. And the doctor's and he's like, "Can it be longer?" He's like, "Sure, it can be longer."
Can it be 180?
Them apples.
Yeah, how about them apples?
It turns out he starts writing a story about stepping out from the bright sunlight, from the darkness of a movie house. I had only 2 things on my mind: Paul Newman and a ride home. Oh, the opening line of this very book.
That's true.
Pony Boy wrote this for us.
That's true. So now a lot of things make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Right? Because in like a really meta way, all of these criticisms and gripes that I've had about this book are not gripes to S.E. Hinton. They're gripes to Pony. Right? So I'm sorry, Miss Hinton. I'm griping at Pony Boy only. In a weird way, it makes a lot of the things that annoyed me about the book like more forgivable, because you are reading Pony's coping mechanism, right? So the fact that like he, when you tell a story to people and then all of a sudden like you go, "Oh yeah, anyway, by the way, this is a thing. Okay, yeah, you need to know that." And then you keep going to tell the story, like basically all this podcast ever. That's what Pony is doing when he says things like, "Oh, I chew my fingernails sometimes" in chapter 12.
It's a habit.
Right? It wasn't really important ever again. And the only reason that he wrote it down is because he remembered the judge telling him about it specifically.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
The only reason he said a lot of that stuff at the beginning of the book was not to introduce you to the characters. He was remembering his friends like they were. He was remembering Dally when he was still alive. He was remembering Johnny when he was still alive. So thinking about the way that Johnny is represented specifically, but also Dally and some of the other characters, you thinking about this as Pony writing about them after they're dead makes a lot more sense. Right? I am slightly annoyed that we like had to get all the way to the end for me to be like, "Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense now." But like it makes more sense. Right? Those like weird little details that were not important. Right? They were important to Pony because those are the important things that define his daily life. And so like it's actually really interesting that she wrote it this way. Right? She almost wrote it like Pony was writing it. You know what I mean? Like
I'll also add, like a concussed pony was writing this in
yeah,
friends, which like to me was like, okay, all those times where we were like weirdly daydreaming and it wasn't making sense and it was kind of rambling. It's like, I understand now. Or like, yeah, so it was interesting how she wrote it as Pony, having experienced all of this stuff. Concussed, writing it is a way, as like a memoir, and dedicating it really to, at this point, to Dally and to Johnny, as a way of warning others about that way, that about lifestyle and choices, and pointing out those flaws. When I got to that sentence, I was like, okay, a lot of the stuff I see now, and it still doesn't make me like the writing or how it ended.
Yeah, but it makes more sense though.
But it makes more sense.
Like,
yeah,
it makes a lot more sense.
It finally makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And yeah, because we know that this book is literally written by Pony.
Yeah.
Right? As like this characterism, everything makes more sense now. You're right. I don't necessarily love all of it, but I'm at least much more content with it because it has at least a meaning now. Right?
Yeah,
and I can sort of justify that in my mind. I understand the choices more. And that for me makes it's more digestible because I can understand the choices and where these things are coming from. Because it is Pony telling you the story.
Yeah.
Which is why we don't necessarily have resolutions for everything with like Cherry and all that stuff, because it might not have happened yet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There is still,
or he might not have ever known. But you're right, like there's still
it happened
more to the story.
Yeah, it happened after he turned in the paper.
Yeah.
Right? It happened like a week later. Right? It like, you know what I mean? Like, so it does leave it open for these resolutions in his life could have occurred after he wrote these down.
Yeah.
So he wrote down just this section, which again is what makes it such an isolated story, right?
Still.
Everything just resolves around like this, right? You wouldn't. The reason that we don't have like place names and all this stuff is because Pony doesn't need them because he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the thing that makes this story like really actually timeless is because Pony didn't need them in his writing. Right? Because this is like, the story feels like removed from any time, but also like it could happen literally anywhere except for like weird terms like Madra shirts. It's like,
or
it could, huh?
Or heater.
Yeah. Or the fact that people are driving around Corvairs, right? Like, it could happen. These events could have happened like last year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But because Pony didn't need to write down like geographic details because he knew where it all was happening and it wasn't important to the events of the story that he was trying to cope with. Like, you get this like sort of timeless thing, kind of an accident, right? Which is really very interesting.
Yeah, and I think that that's one reason why it is it makes it a classic, and I think it makes it a lot more complicated to parse through. And I guess in one aspect, it is nice that it's kind of left at the end because then you do get that oh, okay moment to kind of reflect back on, and you do find I found myself skimming back through the rest of the previous 11 chapters, going okay, and like seeing everything kind of unfold like dominoes going back, and things clicking a lot more for me than they did while I was actively reading it. I guess that's part of this. I don't know. I don't really what that does to a reading experience. Experiencing a book in real time and not knowing the end. I think this was good in that you were able to piece it back together. So for that, I think it's good. for showing that kind of writing style. For most everything else, it's about a. I'm gonna say I'm more positive on this book. I'm gonna go ahead and rate it. I'm gonna give it a 6, just because I had to slog through 12 chapters to get there. But there it is.
That one chapter killed me. Whichever one it was, the one right after the church, that chapter still is the worst thing ever. But I would say generally more positive than I know I rag on it, but I did enjoy it more than I make it sound like sometimes, right? Especially with how much I drone on about certain things. Like, I would say, yeah, definitely solid. I might even go 7, right? It's pretty good. But again, I think, that the saving, the realization for the end is mildly annoying, but I did like that you kind of then had to think about the rest of the book. Yeah. Like, you kind of did have to go, oh, wait. Because it did change my perception about a lot of things, right? Because like I said, a lot of things I was just like super upset about and like really grumpy about. Kind of all of a sudden I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'm not so grumpy about that anymore. It makes sense now. So that's the one bit, that's the other bit of closure that I have, is I know now that I was reading Ponyboy's English assignment, and it is him dealing with his trauma.
Yeah.
Just out there.
Yeah.
So that makes it just makes the whole book make more sense.
A little more tolerable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I can forgive a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we read it. I'm interested in what book we choose next. We'll have to have those discussions, and
might have to take a break. Might have to go back to solid movie territory for a little palate cleanser.
We'll take
in the middle. What
from the movies, from the literature, but no, I think I enjoyed this a lot.
Me too. I would like to do another one.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're on with that.
Right.
Good. Okay. Perfect. Well, that was our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-part series on the.
Wow, look at that. We need to read another one just for more content. Holy cow, people.
6-part series on The Outsiders. And looking forward to whatever one we pick next. But that's it for me, guys.
Yeah. Me too.
Okay.
Okay. Love you guys.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.